Hello everyone, welcome to the Security Month in 2025 here at CGI. Today we're going to talk about how your company is going to get hacked. And of course the focus, since we are at CGI, is going to be on CGI. And I want to start by talking about how do hackers look at a company like CGI. Well, there's about 95,000 employees, at least from what I could dig up here at CGI. You guys use an email pattern, which is your first name, period, your last name at cgi.com. And if I would then want to get a lot of these email addresses, it's quite simple. You can just go to LinkedIn, where there's about 70,000 members who have associated themselves, say that they work at CGI. Of course, it's LinkedIn, so their first and last name is publicly available. Additionally, as a hacker who are usually financially motivated, we're quite interested in how much money CGI actually makes. And since CGI is a publicly traded company, you guys release quarterly financial results. So for your third quarter, we can see that revenue is up 11.4% year over year. You have a revenue of about $4 billion. And this is great, right? It's a great financial year for CGI. You guys should give yourself a pat on the back. But of course, for hackers, what this means is that it seems like you guys have a lot of extra money laying around. Money that, of course, hackers can use to buy Lamborghinis. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Today, I will be your cyber criminal, trying to find out ways or show you ways that hackers breach into companies like CGI and extort them for money. So who am I? My name is Martin Londal. I used to work as a software engineer, and I'm now a senior penetration tester and a penetration test team lead at a public institution here in Norway. Additionally, I do consulting, like, for example, speaking engagements, workshops, and stuff like I'm going to do here at CGI this month, with some awesome hands-on hacking stuff for your developers. So I'm talking about some AI security, and stuff like that outside of my main job. So, what are we going to talk about today? The agenda is pretty straightforward. We're going to give you guys a quick introduction to cybercrime and hacking, how those networks operate. We're then going to move over to talking about ransomware and visiting these ransomware sites on the dark web. Then we're going to talk about how do companies actually get breached. We're going to do some password attack live here on stage. And we're going to also, of course, do some phishing attacks, which you guys probably have heard, way too much about. So show those off in real life here with some demos. Lastly, there is a summary, and this is pre-recorded, so there won't be a live Q&A, but you can, of course, either reach out directly to me or to your CGI partners and colleagues to ask them questions, and they will answer you, and what they can't answer, they'll forward to me, and I'll give you guys a swift response. Now, what for me is important with this talk is to really emphasize that you guys are not cybersecurity experts, and you're not supposed to be cybersecurity experts either. You are experts in your own fields, which I know very little about, but I want you guys to leave these presentations with practical understanding in what actually is the dangers that you guys are facing and how you can effectively protect yourself with as little effort as possible, but with as much efficiency as possible. And with that, let's talk about cybercrime. So a quick introduction to cybercrime. There are usually 3 steps in cybercrime. It is gathering data on your target. It is committing the crime itself. And then you want to cash out, right? You want to turn whatever you've done in cyber into, cold, hard cash that you can buy stuff with. And when we think cybercrime, a lot of time we think this. We think a lone actor, right? A single hacker or a single mastermind who does it all. But what we see is that this is false. Cybercrime is quite similar to what you guys are used to, which is these large kind of corporate networks. Cybercriminals essentially work as CGI would. You have something that maybe the criminal themselves, maybe a group is really good at, but then stuff that they don't know how to do. So they'll contact a consultant who is really good at that. They'll talk to experts and collaborate with people who are really good at different stages of this crime, like, for example, money laundering. They will buy services. They will buy pieces of tools like malware and hacking tools from other criminals who their sole job is to provide these tools. So when we are talking about you're facing cyber criminals, it's not one cyber criminal that you're facing. It's a network of hundreds of thousands of criminals who are all working together to make as much money as possible. And that last part I think is really important because we can often kind of villainize them or think that what they're doing is just to buy, big houses and, again, Lamborghinis and fancy cars. But a lot of the time, for a lot of these criminals, this is how they get food on the table. This is how, they get their kids through school and college, how they pay their rent or pay the down payment on that house that they want. This is like their livelihood in the same way that you guys are doing an amazing job here at CGI and doing your jobs. So these are strongly motivated actors who have their full job is committing crimes and essentially tricking you. And what happens when you get hit by these hacking groups? Well, what happens usually is that they try to get into an organization and they want to run ransomware. Now, for those who are not familiar with ransomware, it is a piece of software that essentially is used to extort companies. There are two important steps of this piece of ransomware. The first is that the software will steal all the important data of your company. This is stuff like your IP, your products, right? Everything that you have kind of in-house that's proprietary. It is internal communication. It's your finances. It is everything and anything that can be valuable or embarrassing for you guys if it is released to the public. And then once they have stolen effectively all the data that they find is valuable, they will then encrypt that data, essentially password protecting everything that you guys have so that you guys cannot access it. The point being, again, that you will have to pay them twice. One, not to release the data that they stole, and two, to give you the password to unlock all of your systems and all of your files so you can go back to work. And what happens if you don't pay? Well, as soon as you're breached, you will be put on these ransomware sites, which are websites that is publicly available to anyone, as long as you have a special browser, like a special version of Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or something, called Tor. And anyone with an internet access can then go on and see everyone who has been breached, so everyone that is currently being extorted. And if the company does not pay, then that data is publicly available. So instead of just talking about it, let's go and visit one of these ransomware sites. So here I am. Again, this is publicly available. So this is not something that I have access to only, or that it's like a special group. This is as publicly available as if you were posting it on on any like piece of a blog or something like that. So here we can see that as recent as yesterday, the 6th of October, this company, Clifford Papers Inc., was hacked and was breached. And you can see that they are providing a little bit of sample data to people to look. So here's their financial reports that was breached. Here is a driver's license of an employee. And then there's some more like contact list, it seems like, some customers or something like that. And if we scroll down on this group, which is one out of hundreds, if not thousands of ransomware groups, this is just one site, one criminal team who does it. You can see how many companies have been hacked. I kind of have to start scrolling a little bit faster because, I have I have a presentation to go through. We can't watch all of these data. And this was page 1. There are many more pages. This is page 10, and if I scroll all the way down, you will see that it goes all the way down to page 14. And this is one ransomware group, one criminal group that extorts people. There's another one here called Shinobi, which again, last breach was, there was 2 companies that was breached yesterday. And again, it's kind of the same thing. These guys have just an infinite list of targets that they have breached. And again, this is one out of, again, hundreds, if not thousands of criminals. So you might not see this every day, right? You might not notice that, companies constantly are being hit by ransomware because, again, you don't work in cybersecurity. You're not a cybersecurity expert. This is not your job to pay attention to. In the same way as if there are something happens in the financial sector, if I am going to notice that, it has to be, on the front page of like the New York Times. It has to be so mainstream that I notice it. That's kind of the way for you guys. But this happens every single day. Companies, big and small, with large and small security budgets, gets compromised every single day, even though it's not in the mainstream news. And if it wasn't the mainstream news, then there would be nothing else than just company being hacked again and again and again. That would be the only news story that they would be posting. So we kind of looked at the aftermath, right? All the data is published. You're being extorted for a lot of money. They will look at your financial reports and they will calculate how much they think that you can pay. And of course, if you pay them, that doesn't mean that they're going to give your data back or that they're not going to release it or they're not going to keep extorting you. We are talking about criminals here. So even if you pay, it doesn't necessarily mean that, everything is nice, right? Everything is going to just go back to normal. So how do they get in? How do hackers actually compromise companies? And the first one is password attacks. So the goal of the criminals is to gain access to an application or some internal systems. And the great thing is that you as an employee already have access to internal email. You have your internal communications, you have your file servers. So what criminals will do is that they will do password attacks. They will essentially try to compromise your account to get the initial access to the inside of the company. And from there, they can start stealing files and getting to a point where they could ransomware the entire company. It's all about statistic and probability. It is super easy to steal passwords. If this was a how to steal password presentation, it would last a week because it is so easy to get access to passwords. I held a similar talk here at CGI last year, and at that point I had the latest statistic which says that we at least know about 14 billion different accounts that has been leaked. Well, when I was updating the slides for this year, it's gone up to 15 billion. So since last year, 1 billion additional passwords have been leaked or have been compromised by hackers. And this is something that is, again, quite easy to do, and these are the passwords that we know about. So these are one of the ones that the criminals are going on these public criminal forums. They are selling access to the data. They're giving access to that data, and we have that. So the stuff that is traded between groups internally by criminals, that is stuff that we don't have access to. This is like the minimum number that we know is currently 15 billion passwords or accounts. And with that amount of data, you can do a lot of statistics and a lot of mathematics to find out the highest probability of guessing your password. So what we, of course, would like to do is to steal passwords. And the best way, of course, is phishing. if I can send an email to you, and remember, I'm a very motivated cybercriminal. This is how I feed my family, how I pay for my rent, how I get food on the table. I can make convincing emails, convincing SMS. I can call you with a voice changer and try to get you to go to a site that is identical to your own company's website and make you type in the password. And if I can do that, of course, my job here is done. I have already won. I got your password. If not, then I would like to try to steal password from computer systems, which is quite easy. It's quite easy to attack computer system and steal passwords. And we've known this since the 90s. So as of at least the 2000, it has been the best practice to protect passwords stored on computer systems. How we do that is by something called hashing. And to show you how hackers abuse this, or how they kind of steal passwords and then crack them, get access to those encrypted passwords, we'll just have to quickly explain how hashing works. And it's quite simple. So if you have a password called summer 2025 exclamation point, which I don't hope anyone has, what you will do is you will take that password and you'll send it through a mathematical algorithm called a hashing algorithm. And out on the other end comes this, a hashed password, which we can then safely store inside our computer systems. The great thing with hashing is that you cannot take that same hashed password and throw it through some mathematical algorithm to get the password back. That does not work. So how it works is, if you register an account for CGI.com, you provide the password to CGI, they will store that password hash, not the clear text password, but your encrypted version. And next time you are going to log in on CGI.com, you provide the password, CGI take that password, throws it through this hashing algorithm, and then it compares. Is the password that we have stored on our system the same as the password that you just provided? Because we just compare the hashes. And if it is, then we'll let you in. If you provide a wrong password, for example, this is summer 2025 exclamation mark, but with a non-capital S, you provide that to CGI, they'll throw it through the hashing algorithm, then they will compare, is the one that we stored with a capital S the same hash as the new one with the non-capital S, which it isn't. So then they won't let you in. So essentially, what hackers do is that when we steal these password hashes from computer systems, is that we will then take our computer and we will make word lists. So we will take dictionaries. We'll go to these 15 billion leaked password. We'll go and do everything that we can to generate as many passwords as possible and create these lists, which can be really of any size. So it can be 10 million passwords. It can be 250 billion passwords. It could be 500 trillion passwords. And we'll create these large lists. And then what we'll do is that we'll send it through the hashing algorithm and we'll compare. Is any of these 500 trillion passwords that I have in this text document, when I throw it through the hashing algorithm, does it match any of the stolen hashes in this other file that I stole? So let's give you a demo of that. So I have this beautiful file here with some hashed passwords. So I stole these from my computer system, and these, I don't know the password for this. So what I'll do is I will go onto my computer. This is just a standard laptop, and I'll use a free program called Hashcat. And I'll say, well, I have this program called Hashcat, and these hashes are stored. The hashes that I want to crack are stored in a file on my computer called crackme.txt. And what I want to do is I want Hashcat to guess every combination of a non-capital letter and a digit. So every password that contains a non-capital letter and numbers, just every combination. And I want to do that for a password of the length of 8. So if I run that, I'm going to get some warnings and error messages. This is just my computer being weird. and it takes some time to kind of start up. And then we can see, so it has started now. To guess a 8-character password, again with lowercase letters and numbers, my computer is going to use 8 minutes and 37 seconds. For example, here you can see the first password already appeared. So this password hash is this password right here, which is completely random, but it has just a length of 8. So for my computer, again, my laptop, it's going to take 1.5 minutes to guess. Quite easy, right? It's not difficult to then, to just wait 1 minute and 37 seconds to crack every single combination. Here is the cool thing. If I increase the length from 8 to 9, and I start it again, I'm gonna get some warnings and stuff. But if I start it again, you're gonna see that now the estimated time to guess every single combination went from 1.5 minutes when it was a length of 8 to an hour when it's a length of 9. Now, again, an hour, that's not that much, right? You go, you make some dinner and stuff like that, and then, you have cracked every single password. And it's going to be great. You can also, by the way, see how fast my little laptop, which hopefully on the recording, the audio isn't too loud with my fans, but my laptop is guessing 26,311 mega hashes a second, meaning it is guessing, I think it's, if I remember correctly, let's see, it should be, I think it's, 26 billion is the correct number. I'm getting 26 billion passwords a second on my laptop, so not on something fancy. If we increase the length from 9 to 10, again, it's gonna get some warnings. And it will tell me that it's gonna take about a day and 9 hours. And we don't have to go through this for every single length, but if I increase it to 12, so now it's a password of the length of 12, and I start the cracker. It now takes 5 years, right? 4 years and 350 days for my laptop to guess. Of course, this is from a laptop. It's not from some super expensive cracking computer or anything like that. But you can see how by going from a length of 8 to a length of 12, it went from 1.5 minutes and all the way up to about 5 years. So when it comes to password, every time you increase the length by just one more character, you're adding significant amount of security to your password. You, of course, can't do anything about your passwords being stolen, right? If you give your password to a company and that company gets breached, then you can't do anything about that. You're not, head of security for that given company. But if you have a really strong password, then it doesn't matter how good of a computer I have as a hacker, I can't just easily guess your password. So, what we would like to do, of course, as we talked about, we want to get access to your password. And phishing is, of course, the best. If I can just make you give me, your password, great, I get your password. If not, then I'll try to steal it from some computer systems for different companies, and I'll see if you you're reusing that password or something like that. And that would also be great. If not, then we'll use password databases. So password databases are, again, these leaked passwords that we talked about, that we know about. I'll essentially go into these databases with billions of passwords that has been leaked from different companies, and I'll search through it, and I'll search all the employees of CGI, and then I'll search these billions of passwords that has been stolen, and I'll see, does any of the employees at CGI have any of their password breached from a company? And if they do, I'll go and I'll try to see if you reused a personal password at a professional capacity. So see if you're reusing passwords. This is quite simple, right? Just search up some names, you go and find those on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, you're trying to log into different accounts. If that doesn't work, will use word lists. So word lists are really, really great because humans have very similar patterns. Our passwords usually starts with a capital letter at the start because that's how we build sentences. And then it will have some numbers at the end, usually it's like up to 4, sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes it's 6 or 8 because it can be like a full birth year or something like that. But usually 4 to 6 is quite common. And then it'll have something like an exclamation point, a question mark, or maybe a period if you're really, really special. Of course, some people break these norms, but the vast majority don't. And we know this from just pure statistic. People create passwords with single words or very, very short sentences and follow the same patterns. And we have these word lists that we can kind of go through. One of these that we will take a look at is can be found here, for example, on the internet. This is here you can see a bunch of leaked databases. These are companies that have been hacked. Their password were posted for anyone to see, and you can just kind of go through. For example, you have the company NordVPN, which provides a VPN service. The most used password for NordVPN users was this 011584WB, meaning multiple users, or the mass majority, multiple users were reusing that password. Those users, of course, thought my password is completely unique. Who is using that combination for passwords? What we can see is multiple people were. And you can kind of go through here and you can find all kinds of different things. Carter.cc, I think, actually was a criminal website, if I remember correctly, who stole credit cards and stuff like that. Fortinet and Hack5 are security companies. And Hotmail, as we all know, right? So you can kind of go through and you can find all these leaked passwords and you can just try them against systems. Because if I'm a hacker and I have tried to phish you and that didn't work, and I have tried to see if you're reusing passwords in a previous leak, so I'm searching your email or your name up and then I'm trying to see if you reused the same password multiple places, but you haven't because you're strong. And I have tried to steal password from the company and either failed to steal those password hashes, or I can't crack your password hash because you're using something really, really strong. Well, the last thing is to go to these word lists and just try the login portal for the company or the website that I want to gain access to. So what we'll do is that we'll grab one of these word lists. In my case, I will be grabbing the one called RockYou, which is a very famous word list that was stolen with, I think it's 14 million different unique passwords. It was stolen a while back, but it's still very much used by people, or the passwords in that list is used by people all the time. And what I have here is I have my hacking machine, which I typed the wrong password in. There we go. I have my hacking machine here. And here I have a login screen. And I know that the user is called Martin, and I can try, different passwords, and, that didn't work. So of course I could sit here now for days and days and days and manually type in, different passwords. But of course, what we want to do is we want to just use these word lists and see if I'm reusing a password that someone else has used, which happens all the time. So I'll go on to my machine here, and I have this tool, which have a tool called Hydra. Again, all these tools are free and available and not hard to learn how to use. You can just Google it, and there are multiple guides online. But what I'm essentially saying is that the tool Hydra, there is a website at company.evil, which is just something running locally on my computer. The username is Martin. The database of passwords that I want you to use is called RockYou. And the rest of this is just a way to kind of confirm if the login was successful or not. So I'll hit enter on that, and it will just start guessing passwords. So it's going through this leaked database with all these passwords, the 14 million password, and it's just attempting to log in with the username Martin and then whatever passwords. So now we just wait. I'll take some water. And there we go. So the password for this website for the user Martin was love forever. How romantic of me. And now stuff is kind of coming in, is popping up in the way. So here we go. So love forever. And if I write that password, it tells me to log in. This, of course, is just an example website. So we have password attacks. We would like to either phish it from you if possible. If not, then we would like to attack on some computer system, steal these password hashes, and try to crack them offline on my computer where I can do billions of guesses a second. If I can't do that, well, then I'll look into these password databases and I'll see, hey, are you reusing any of your passwords? If you are, great. If not, then I'll do the last, ditch effort. I'll go into a word list from a previous leak of some companies, and I'll find like very common password that people use, and I'll just run those against the login site, and I'll do maybe 1,000 guesses a second. So lots of attacks, lots of ways, and as we talked a little bit about, there are ways to prevent this, and you will heard this advice probably thousands of times before. The way to stop password attacks is to use strong and unique passwords. So they are not in any leaks and you're not reusing, right? So if one company gets hacked, not all your accounts get compromised. And strong so that I can't guess it in any way. The issue is if you just have 10 or 20 accounts, and I personally have over 100, I think I'm closer to 200 different accounts. If you are supposed to remember a strong and unique password for all of those, you would look like this. You would have to wake up every morning and memorize all 100 passwords. And that just isn't feasible for anyone. So I advise to use something like a password manager. A password manager is just a program that will store all your password in a safe and secure manner. And the only thing you need to remember is the password to that password manager. If you know that password, no one else will be able to know that password. You create one strong password to essentially unlock this vault that contains all your other passwords. And it's really great because you can unlock it with also with Face ID, so your face, with fingerprint, so it's really nice. And it will also autocomplete, fill in the passwords for you, so you don't even have to copy and paste. And this is the best way to do it. I'm not affiliated with any password managers. There are a lot of them out there, so you can do your own research, but here are two just to get you on to at least look at some of them. One is called 1Password, the other is called Bitwarden. They both work great. I personally run one myself with a family plan, so I have 5 different accounts. So me and my spouse and my mom and my sister and my dad all kind of gain access to a password manager, and at least I know everyone in my close family is storing passwords in a safe way. They're using unique password every time, and they are, they don't need to remember them. They just copy paste it or make the application autofill. So everyone is using passwords that are 200 characters long and randomly generated. Now, enough about passwords. Let's go over to my personal favorite thing, which is phishing. The majority of cyber attacks start with some form of phishing. And this can be anything from an email, it can also be SMS, it can be a chat from a chat app, it can be a phone call, or really anything. It is essentially just a way for criminals to interact with you and trying to trick you. Because the goal is to get you to do something that benefits the hackers. The normal 2 examples that happens, there of course are many, but the 2 common ones, it's that they want you to either click a link or they want you to open a file. So let's talk about phishing links. Now, the argument that usually happens is that, well, it's just a link. What's so dangerous about clicking links? You and me click links every day. We are scanning QR codes every day, which QR codes are essentially just links. So we are constantly doing this and nothing bad seems to happen. So what can actually happen if you click a link from, for example, me? Well, you can, of course, first open yourself up to just being tricked and scammed. As we talked about, hackers are the criminals. This is the way that they make money. So if you click the link, you are taken to some website that is, designed to be as convincing as possible. And by going to it, you are allowing them the attempt to convince you. Additionally, they will register that your email address clicked this link, meaning, oh, this person clicks links, let's send more attempts to them. So you will be essentially marked as a more lucrative target because they know that you click those links. You can also get your account takeover. If the website that you go to have a vulnerability in it, your account can be taken over by you not doing anything. You just go to a link, and your account is taken over. And you didn't know because you didn't know there was a vulnerability in that website. You can also have, if you click a link which takes you to one website, one of your accounts on a completely different website can get taken over. And we'll take a look at a demo of that a little bit later. And at absolute worst, your entire device can be taken over. So your phone or your laptop or your computer can be taken over by an attacker, which we'll also take a look at a little bit later. But this essentially means that they get full access to your account. They can turn on the camera, the microphone, they can see everything you write, they can see your screen, they can control your computer as if they were sitting at that, or control your phone as if they had just physical access to that phone. Now, let's do a little bit of a demo. So, let's see. Stuff is lagging a little bit on my end. Here we go. So, I'm here at this web store here, and I want to, register an account. So let's quickly do that. Let's register an account. So this is just a demo website. So let's just say something like martin@test.com and 123abc is my password, right? We just talked about strong passwords. Don't do as I say, not as I do in my demos. So I have this account on this web store, and everything is great. And then someone sends me a link and say, hey, you should go to this company.evil site. So I'll paste that into my browser. And you could see that for a second there, like some website popped up. And now I'm back on to this web store. And it says password has been updated. And that's kind of weird. I went to company.evil, but now I'm here and my password has changed. I don't really get that. So let's just sign out of my account. If it could stop lagging. Let's see. I just have to be a little bit more patient with my clicking. Let's just sign out of my account. Perfect. And let's try to log back in again. So it was martin@test.com. And the password was 123abc. And my password is wrong, which is weird. If I do martin@test.com and I do the password 12345, I'm let back in. When I visited, there's a vulnerability in this demo website. So when I visited company.evil, it essentially took my control over my browser and essentially went to this web store and changed my password as if I did it, because there's a vulnerability in this website. So again, by going to some completely different website, I changed the password on this web store of my victim, and I essentially just took over that victim's account. And you can do all kinds of fun stuff. Like you could have, if there was a kind of weak checkout system, then you could have added stuff to cart, and you could like auto bought stuff, and you could fill in where to send it and stuff like that. So those are the vulnerabilities with clicking a link. And then we have files, which of course is a little bit more exciting than just clicking links. Now, the issue with files are quite simple. Which one of these is a PDF? And it looks like both of them are, but one of them contains malware, which would take over your device, and the other one is just a PDF. And for those who are wondering, it's the one on the right, that's the PDF, and it's the one on the left, that is the piece of malware. Again, hackers spend all their time, because this is how they make their money, figuring out how to disguise files and essentially trick you to downloading something that doesn't look malicious, doesn't look like a virus, doesn't look like malware, but secretly is. For example, here is some of the file formats that we are using when we are trying to deploy malware. And some of these can run code on your computer. So if you open one of those files from me, I will take over your device. And some of them we use to kind of avoid antiviruses and detection mechanisms. And some of the fun part here is that you can see that some of the file formats here are probably quite familiar to you, like docm and .xls, which are Word and Excel documents. Because since almost release of the Office suite, there have been ways to make like legitimate built-in ways to make Word files and Excel files and PowerPoints and stuff like that run code on your machine. So if you open a malicious Excel spreadsheet, I just take over your device. And this has been since the 90s. And the vast majority of people that work professionally with PowerPoint, Excel, and Word hasn't been taught this. It's something that hackers have known for a long time. It has been used in all those breaches that you saw us look at the beginning on those ransomware sites, and it's still actively used today. But the vast majority of individuals doesn't know about this kind of little security trick. So I just need to kind of log into this Windows machine that I have here. So I have a Windows machine here. And on this Windows machine, I have this Word file open from CGI. So you can see that it is a Word file, and this is a legitimate Word file, and it says that this document is encrypted according to GDPR standards. To access the document, click the Enable Content button at the top, and then you can see that there is a picture of what I want to click, and then you can see that the file is encrypted. So it wants me to click this Enable Content button, which is, okay, sure, it's encrypted. I need to access this document. Before we do that, let's take a look on my evil machine. So this is the hacker machine that I have access to, where kind of the criminal is sitting. And on this machine, I am waiting. If I take a look at my jobs, I am essentially waiting for the victim to open this Word file and clicking that Enable Content button. So let's do that. We go back to the Word file and we click Enable Content. The file decrypted, and it says that this is about vacation request for 2025, and it tells me that I should make sure that I have scheduled in my vacation. It's kind of first come, first serve, so make sure that you register all your vacation time so that we can guarantee that you actually get vacation when you want. I think, great, that seems perfect for me, and I'm done with this Word file. But on the hacker machine where I have control, I got a connection back. Essentially, when I click that Enable button, that Enable Content button on the Word file, the Word file downloaded and ran some malware from my server, from my malicious machine. I now have full access to this machine. For example, I can, we have full access. We can do really whatever. We can, for example, take just a screenshot of the screen. So I type the screenshot. I got a link to where the image is stored on my computer. So I will click on that, copy it, and I will just open it. You can see, if I wait a second, here is a screenshot of my screen. So I can sit anywhere in the world and I can just watch whatever is going on the screen. We can also capture keystrokes. So I can say key scan start. And now it started to look for keystrokes. If I go back to my victim machine and I say hello from Word, and I go back to my hacker machine and I say key scan dump, you can see that it says that I captured the text hello from Word. But of course, this could be password, it could be credit card information, it could be really anything that you're typing into your computer. And of course, I can stop this and stop monitoring myself. But essentially, I now have full access to this computer. I could turn on the webcam, I could turn on the microphone, anything. I can access all files, I can upload files to this system, I can change anything as if I'm sitting at that computer. And note that nothing really happened, right? Like, Word, of course, fixed itself, so I can close Word, and it's not going to change anything. I'm not going to lose any connection. Of course, it asked me if I don't want to save this document. I'm on the desktop. There's nothing running on this computer. For this demonstration, I turned off the antivirus, but these are trivial to evade the antiviruses. The antivirus is not going to protect you from these types of attacks. So just for the simplicity, I just turned it off for this demo. But again, no pop-ups, no lagging. The computer just works. And I have full access to it and can control it as long as the computer is on. So then we have more movie-like attacks. Now we kind of talked about the realistic scenarios, the stuff that you most likely are going to face. So it is, someone is going to brute force, is going to get your password either from some database leak or from hacking into a company and stealing the encrypted password, or more likely phishing you. If not, to give up your password, then they're going to make you click some link, which can exploit some vulnerability in a site, or again, just make you give up personal information or passwords. Or lastly, they are going to try to get you to download some file, like a Word file or something else, or a PDF that looks like a PDF but actually contains malware, and make you click on that file, and you won't notice that your computer gets taken over, but it does. Additionally, we have kind of these more movie-like exploits. And these are essentially new exploits that are constantly being discovered that has really high impact. So vulnerabilities, just like companies are getting hacked every single day, new vulnerabilities are being discovered every single day. Of varying kind of danger, but a lot of them are quite severe. And there's actually an issue here that we don't have enough hackers, at least good ones, to find these security vulnerabilities and report them. So there's constantly coming out like new, highly severe vulnerabilities. That's why you're constantly being told to please keep updating your systems, because there's constantly new vulnerabilities. Some examples of like vulnerabilities that are quite severe was, for example, a problem in WebP. This is an image format used for the internet. But if you opened a malicious, picture in this format, which is similar to like a PNG, on an iPhone or a Android phone or on most computers, like most browsers, like Google Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever, then the picture was formatted in a way that it would take over your device. It would download malware and hijack your entire computer or your phone. There was the same, a vulnerability in WhatsApp, which allowed people to send messages to people, and when the person looked at those messages, it would just take over the phone. There was a similar one in Telegram where you could send an image, and when people thought it was an image and they clicked on it, it was actually a piece of malware. So you ran some code on your computer and it would take over the computer. And there was also one in Firefox, I think this was about, actually this month last year, where Firefox had like some issue in how they were doing some animation stuff. And if attackers knew that, they could create a website that if anybody with Firefox visited that website, it would take over their computer. So again, highly advanced exploits that just kind of shows up. There's not really a lot of news about it if you don't work in cybersecurity, and then they get patched if people keep updating their device. I remember personally the WebP incident when that one was released, that it was a pretty big issue at my work, because as soon as that one was like public and hackers found out that there was a vulnerability and they could make these evil images, we got spammed with emails trying to send images to people at our company to make them open some. Luckily, we had defense mechanisms in place to stop that. But as soon as this vulnerability became public, but before people could update, we got just bombarded with these attempts from criminals. So phishing is quite scary, because if they make you click an image or a link, then something bad can happen. And again, it's not your job to keep track of what websites are vulnerable and what is the latest security vulnerability. So what I want is to give you some practical advice to how to prevent yourself from being a victim of something like phishing. The most important one is, does this make sense? And if they're trying to pressure you, to stress you into time, then you should probably not click it. Additionally, you have to do things manually. So if you get an email about a package from FedEx, then don't click the link, because remember, it might be me sending that link. Instead, go to FedEx's website and sign in, and then take a look at your package. Same if it comes from a financial institute or there comes something from CGI, you can a lot of time just call. You can call that financial institute, like your bank, or you can call your colleagues at CGI, your manager, HR, and you can say, hey, someone sent something, a document that they say is super important. I haven't heard anything about this. It seemed a little vague. Hey, is this real? Is this phishing, or what is going on? And your colleagues will be super glad to help you out. Always, validate, so you can contact people and make sure that this makes sense. If you don't remember getting a package, don't get that. Don't click that link. And the last thing, if you are in doubt, then it's most likely a scam. Always be paranoid. Unfortunately, the internet has allowed great things, but also allowed criminals to just get access to everyone at the same time. So when you get a link or a file, or someone wants you to do something over an SMS or an email or a phone, be paranoid. Just think, hey, does this make sense? Are they trying to pressure me? Can I validate this with someone else? Do I have to click their link, or can I manually go and do this myself? Additionally, there are some things you can do to kind of validate the email. If you have to click the link because you don't remember how to log into that website, or their support is down, well, then you can do a couple of things. Before, we used to tell people that they could go and they could check with the spelling and the grammar, but that doesn't really work anymore because of AI, right? So you can write some really bad broken English, and the AI models will give perfect English back with some email templates. But what we can do is that we can validate where it comes from. So you can, first of all, you can do a lot of things. I kind of want to highlight one of the more important ones, which is that you can take the name of the company that send you an email or send you a link, and then you can paste that into Google, and you can do a Google search for it, and then you can do a manual Google search next to it and compare the search results. For example, I have two versions of CGI.com here in this slide. Which one is the real one and which one is the fake one? Well, let's take a look at it. So I'll copy the right one, which is the fake one. And I'll copy that, and I'll go to my browser, and I'll paste that into Google. So I'll go and I'll do google.com to make sure I don't visit the website, right? But I'll Google search CGI.com. And you can see what comes up here is some Russian stuff, which seems kind of weird, because if I just google.com and I do manually type in CGI.com, this is what it should look like. It should be your website coming up as the first result. So clearly this link is not correct. And that's because this C is a Cyrillic C. It's not, and so this is the phishing domain. So doing something like that, if you really are unsure if the link is from CGI.com or FedEx or something, copy the link, go manually to Google, paste in the link or the domain of the website, and see if when you do a manual search, if those two Google pages are the same. If they're the same, it's probably fine. If they're different, it's probably phishing. So we're running out of time here. So what I just want to leave you with is a quick summary. Computer hacks and attacks and breaches happens every single day. You are not a security expert, and that's a good thing because we need people like you to do your normal job where you are experts in. But that doesn't mean that this doesn't happen every single day. You can protect yourself very easily when you're using passwords. Use a password manager so you have strong, unique passwords, and enable multi-factor authentication, at least on your key accounts like your emails, your corporate stuff, your bank accounts. Make sure all of those have multi-factor authentication. Phishing is very real. You just have to be paranoid. That's just the situation of today. You just have to not trust anything and always think when you get an email or a message, this is probably a scam, and then be pleasantly surprised when it's not. And lastly, again, you're not a security expert, so there's no shame in asking. If you get something, call your bank manually, check with the mail delivery, ask your colleagues here at CGI or this amazing security staff here at CGI if this is phishing. Always just check once too often, because again, as soon as you give those hackers an inch, they're gonna take everything. They're gonna get access, and you're gonna have a hard time kicking them out. If there's any questions, you can of course reach out to your amazing colleagues here at CGI, and they will route that to me. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or anything. I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great security month.